The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. This is Sydney speaking, and as you've seen, today's webinar will be talking about some of the new options that we have in SolidCAM 2014, introduced in Service Pack 2, which, by the way, is being released now. And what really excites me specifically about this webinar is I'm not only just going to show you some of these new options that we have, but I'm actually going to be even in a way teaching you, actually showing you how it works. I'm going to actually be doing some machining on these parts as well. It'll actually be pretty interesting. And of course, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to see it later on also on our website. It will be available on our website as well, together with the part that I'll be using. Of course, if there are any questions, you'll be able to ask your questions. And if you do have questions, all you really have to do is simply click on raise hand in the area of the questions. Just write down your question. And of course, don't forget, after you finish writing down your question, click on the send button. Otherwise, I will not be able to see your question. But this way, when you send it, I will be able to see it, and I will try to answer it to the best of my abilities. Okay, so let's get going now with the webinar itself. And what I'll be doing in the webinar is showing you a few different options. For example, I'll be showing you working on a tombstone, one with different types of parts as shown over here. I'll be also showing you a different tombstone where I have all the same parts just around the entire tombstone. And then later on, also towards the end of the webinar, I'll show you one of the new options that we have inside creating a chain geometry. So let's get started. I see you all do see my screen, so I can actually start with the webinar itself now. Now, what we see here on our screen at this moment is a tombstone where we have one type of part on this side over here. We can see we have in one direction we have 2 by 3 as shown over here. On this side we also have 2 separate parts. In this particular case, I left the other 2 sides empty, so it'll be enough. Just keep showing you exactly what I have here. I also have it with the configuration of my stock as well, where my stock is actually a block around the part itself. So let's actually get started and start the operation itself, start the project itself. So we'll go into SolidCAM as usual, go to SolidCAM New Milling, and we'll accept everything that's here, and we'll start the project. Now, as you notice in this particular case, I brought this in as an assembly. I have my machine that I'll be using over here, and the first thing I'd like to do in this particular case, this style of working, which I'll show you first, is working in that I have actually several different home positions, several different Mac positions, where the actual center of rotation is the actual first Mac position, and then I have a separate one for each side, one for this side over here for these set of parts, and another one for these set of parts over here. So I'll create the first the first coordinate system, and I'll click it on this side. Now, this particular machine that I'm working on is a horizontal milling machine, and I want to have that my Z is facing in the up towards over here. So, as you can see, my home position is over here. Let me first flip it around Y, as shown over here. I'll zoom in so you can see it a little better. And I also want to have that my Y is going towards the top, towards the other side of the tombstone. So we have flip around Z in this particular case. I'm sorry, I just made a little mistake over there. Let me flip it again around Y. There we go. My Z is now in the correct direction. And now flip it around Z. And we have now our Y in the direction I want to have it in. Okay, that's my first home position. And that'll actually be the center of my rotation. I'll click on OK. And my let me set my part upper level. My part upper level will be the top over here. And I'll just set my clearance level to be above that, say at 225. And my tool start level, I'll leave that at 250 as shown over here. And we'll just accept it exactly the way it is. Now I want to create a second home position. My second home position this time will be on the corner, on the middle of this particular part over here. And as I said, I'm going to create it as a separate MAC coordinate system. So I'll have that as 2, and I'll click on the part as shown over there. I've created that home position as shown. Note, my X and Y direction are in the directions I want to have them in. And as you see, I'll just leave this exactly the way it is right now. Now, I do want to excuse me, I want to create another home position. So I'll do add again. And this time I'll have this as MAC coordinate system number 3. And this time it's going to be on this part over here, making sure that my Y direction is in the right direction. So I'll flip it around Z until I get to the right direction. And as you can see, all of the Y directions is going towards the center. All my spin is actually, my rotating is actually all in the same direction over here. Everything facing towards the top. Okay, we'll accept that exactly the way that is over here. And as you can see now, we have 3 MAC positions. We have 3 MACs. Our first one, a second one over there, and our third one over here. Okay, next I usually do like to create my stock. So I'll go into create stock, and I'll take my stock. Instead of defined by automatic box, I'll choose the option of 3D model. Now in 3D model, since I did create this as I showed you in the beginning with a configuration of stock, so I can use that and simply click, sorry, let me get rid of that over there, unselect. I'll click on the stock itself. I'll click on it over there, flip it around here, and I can do the same thing over here as well. There's also another way of choosing my stock, but I'll show that actually in the next part that I show you. Okay, there's my stock over there. And let's just go into my target. I'm just going to get rid of everything that I have over here so I can show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm working on my default configuration, and my target are just my parts as shown over here. Just click them very simply over here, choose each part, and we're all set as far as my target goes. If I click on show, it's actually generating now the parts itself. Those are actually my target parts. Okay, let's leave it exactly the way it is right now, and we'll actually accept this and start our operations. But actually, one more thing we still have to do after before we actually start our operations itself. We have to do the following. One, I'd like to create my fixtures, define my fixture. Now in this particular case, my fixture is my tombstone itself. So I'll just right click on fixture to create, to define my fixture, and I'll click on the tombstone as shown over here. That is my fixture. Now, next, since we're working on a horizontal machine, and I'm also working in different directions, I'd like to actually do a machine setup. Now, in the previous versions, such as SolidCAM 2013, if you want to do machine setups on different MAC positions, you would have to have a separate setup for each MAC position that you have. And if you had different operations over here, and with different Macs that you're using, in between each one you had to insert the different setups. The way we do it now in SolidCAM 2014 in Service Pack 2 is a lot easier, especially when working on Mac positions where they're all parallel to each other, where the where the center of rotation is actually parallel to all of them are parallel to that rotation point. Let's see exactly what I'm talking about. If I actually right-click on operation, we have the option of machine setup. Okay, now we have our fixture. I've already defined it. Now you'll note that we have our first home position. That's the actual center of rotation. You'll note on the bottom, however, we've added now something called related coordinate systems. These two, Mach 2 and Mach 3, are related to the very first Mach position, and I want to have them that way, and I don't want to have to define them again. Another setup for that. Since they're working on the exact same tombstone as over here, and they're all pivoting around that same point, we have the option of creating them as a related coordinate system. This way, I do not have to create a different setup for each one of those Mach positions. And we'll see this as we go along. We'll see exactly how this works. Okay, I'll click on OK. And all I have to do now, as you note, I have my setup. That's the only setup I'll ever need in this project. Don't need any more setups. So let's now start working on these parts over here. And we'll see exactly how we work with the new way of transforming and also how it jumps from one to the other. Let's first start with these parts over here. And I'm actually going to create a face milling operation across the top of just one part over here. So we'll start by 2.5D face. I'll choose my correct Mach position as shown over here, Mach 2 position 1. And we'll choose our geometry. My geometry in this particular case will be around this part over there. Excuse me. And that's it. That's all I need to do. I'm not doing it on every one of them. I'm just going to do it on that one part. Okay, we have our tool. In this particular case, I'm going to use a 40mm face mill, as shown over here. I'll even add a little bit of a holder. Let me go all the way down over here, and I'll choose this holder over here. Okay. We'll accept that. We'll go into our levels. My upper level, in this particular case, is over here. And my face depth will be actually the same as my upper level. I'm just going to have to do one pass across the top. Now my clearance level, I'm going to have that, let's say, at 25mm. Actually, I'm just having it at 10mm. And my start level, I'll have that at 25mm as well. I'm going to use a regular technology that we have in here of hatch. And in my hatch, I'm just going to have the corners go as rounded fillets. Okay, now let me just run the simulation quickly. And what you'll see is very simple. That the tool goes down across the part exactly the way I wanted it to work. Okay, no problem at all. Now wait a minute, I wanted to do this on all of these over here. So what I can do is, even before I exit my operation, I can actually click on the transformation icon as shown over here and do my transform exactly at this point already. I'll just click translate, matrix, and let's do this showing the top view over here, and we'll have it like this. X, two parts in the X direction, and the X direction, the distance will be 209mm. That's the measurement I know between one to the next part. And in my Y direction, we have 3, and the Y step will be 200. We also have a sorting option over here. I'll explain the difference between the blue and green ones in my next part, but let's just leave it at the way it is right now. Actually, you know what? I'm going to choose this one over here as my way of sorting. You know what? And actually, let me choose this one over here. I'm going to choose that way of sorting, starting from the top, going down. Okay, we'll accept that. Run my simulation. And as you can see, it goes to the top, across there, the next one over, and it does all of them. Now, since I already have this face mill operation going, I want to do the face mill operation for this side as well. So what I'll do is I'll do save and copy, choose my next Mac position, Mac 3, position 1, and I'll choose a new geometry, and this time I'll go into define, and I'll have my configuration here as default, and I'll just click on this one part over here. Accept that. I have my tool that stays the same. My levels, just to make sure everything is correct, let's view it at the top view over here. My levels will be from this surface over here. And by the way, there's a new option in 2014 SP2, which I'll show you also again. In my face depth, as you know, we always click on our button over here to choose the face depth. We don't have to do that anymore. If I just highlight this area, all I have to do is pick the bottom over here directly from this point over here, and it automatically populates it over there. In this particular case, I don't want there. This is a face mill operation. I just wanted to go to the very top. You know, I just clicked on the top, and it automatically again changes that particular field. My technology will stay the same. Okay, just a moment. Okay, my technology will stay the same, and I'll save it. Actually, before I save it, I'll go directly into transformation. And in this particular case, my transform will be a little different. It'll still be translate, but this time we'll have the number in the X copies will be still 1, but in the Y direction, I'm going to have this as 2, because there are only 2 parts here, and I'm going to have the Y step at 400 millimeters. And even my sorting, I will change it. I want to start from the top going down. So I'll start from over here. I'll accept that. Actually, I see I have 2 over here. We'll cancel. For this operation, I'm just going to take what I have over here, make some changes. For this particular operation, because I did do save and copy, so I didn't need what I have over here. My Y direction will be 2, and I have 400 millimeters in my Y step as shown over here. Okay, we'll accept that. Let's run our simulation. And as you can see, it's going across that part over there. Now, you know what? Let me go out of this operation now. And now I'm going to do a pocket operation over here. No problem. We'll start our 2.5D operation of pocket machining. We'll choose Mac 2. Again, I'll choose my geometry, auto constant Z, and I'll just pick this edge over there. And we're all set. I'll create my end mill. In this particular case, I'm going to create a, let's create a 10 millimeter end mill. That should do us quite all right. And in my holders, I'll choose the same holder I used in the last operation as well. Same type of holder. Again, my levels, upper level is here. Pocket depth is there. We have our step down, we have our technology. Everything's the way your normal pocket would be. And I need a transform operation here as well, but you know what? I'm just going to leave it now. And what I can do to get, since this transform is the exact same as the very first one, I'm just going to mark from the outside these 2 operations, that one and this one. And I can do the transform from the outside as well, transform. Since the first one already has a transform, it's already in here. All I have to do is click on OK, and it automatically carries it over to that one as well. Okay, let's continue now with one more operation in this particular area over here. And this time I'm going to create an operation to clear out this corner over here. And to do that, I'm going to use the option in toolbox cycles. The toolbox cycle I'm going to use to clear out this corner is called, excuse me, simple corner, where all I have to do is choose the outside, the side over here. I don't have to close this off at all. It'll automatically close off the corner for me. Choose obviously the right Mac position that I need to work on. Let's put this in our top view, and let me just create my geometry. My geometry in this particular case will be this edge over here, this one, and this one. That's my entire geometry. Okay? I'll choose my tool. In this particular case, I'll choose my 10 millimeter end mill, and my levels, upper level at top over here, depth down up until that step over there. Of course, we have our technology to step over. Let's have a larger step over here of, say, every 4 millimeters. And we have our sorting by slices or by passes. We'll just leave it exactly the way that is. Now, before I do save and calculate, I'm going to actually do my transform. Now, this time the transform is going to be a little different because I only did this on one edge over here. What I'd like to do is, first of all, in my transform option, rotate it around my home position over here, around the center over here. And in addition, on that, take that entire transformation that I did over there, rotate, and transform that to this part over here. So it's sort of like a double transform operation all wrapped up in one. So we'll go into transform. And in this particular case, I'll choose the option of rotate. And I'll choose list. Now, in list, I'll include my original operation, which is the first one over there. And then I'll have it go 3 more times, rotating every 90 for 90 millimeters each time. Now, since my home position is exactly in the center, I don't have to worry about around what it's going to rotate. If my home position was not in the center, then I'm actually able to go into here and then choose a rotating point. But this is good exactly the way it is, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is right now. I'll click on OK. Now we have this rotate angle over here on this part. Since we already have this, on top of this, I can add now the option of translate matrix. Again, I'll have the number of copies in the X direction will be 1, number of copies in the Y direction will be 2, and I'll have this at 200 millimeters. We'll click on OK, save and calculate, run our simulation, and as you can see, it's doing all of these areas exactly the way it's supposed to. My little bit of a problem over there, just a second. Okay, I think my transform was not in the right spot. Let me just redo that. Here we go again. Sorry, you're right. It was 400 millimeters. That's why we have simulation, so we can see if we did make a mistake, which I did. And we will recalculate that, rerun our simulation, and we can see that now everything is in the right area. You know what? Let me run now my simulation of this part that I've done over here. But this time I'm going to run it, all of my operations, using my machine simulation. Okay? We'll let it load up in a minute. And what you'll see actually is, even though I did, remember in the beginning, all I did was one setup. But you'll see that it works for every single Mac position that I have over there. We'll start off over here. Start off our first operation. We'll just slow down a bit. We have our first Oh, too slow, sorry. We have our first operations over there. And now it's going to go to the second one, as shown over here. And note, this is, even though this is a different MAC position, we still have it on one setup. Before, in order to do this, you would have to do a separate setup for each MAC position that you had over there. Now you can do this all in one setup, as shown over here. And of course, it's going to do the last side as well, clearing out that corner as shown over here. Okay, let me stop the simulation. Now, let me do one more operation on this part. If we zoom in to this part over here, you'll note there's this little hole right over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create another home position, but this time I'm going to leave it at home position, at the MAC position 3, but just add another position based on MAC 3. So we'll go into our coordinate system manager, add a new one, MAC 3 position 2, and I'll have it on this side over here, making sure my Y is in the correct direction. I have my Z in the correct direction, but my Y has to go up over there, so we'll flip around Z, and now we're all set as far as my directions goes. Okay, as you can see, we're facing the right direction. My clearance plane, I'm just going to have it all the way up on top over here. Just a moment. My clearance plane will be over here on this surface over there. And if I want, I can actually make it just a little bit higher. I'll have it at 100, and my tool start level, I have that at 125. Now I'll leave everything else the way it is. If I want, I can put my part lower at the very bottom over there, but I'm just going to leave it the way it is right now. All I'm going to do now is add another operation. Excuse me. Okay. My new operation will be of drilling. I'm going to choose MAC 3 position 2. You can see that it flipped it over to that side. And I'll create my new geometry. Let me just zoom into this area over here. Click on that surface. And we're all set over there. Of course, I need a tool. I'm just going to do a one tool operation right now. So I'll just create a new tool. And I'm going to use a drill. The diameter of the drill will be according to this diameter over here. Clicking it inside this area over here automatically changes my diameter value. Of course, if I want to add the holder, if I want, I'll just add the holder. And of course, my levels. My upper level being over here, and my drill depth being, let me just flip this around a little, zoom in, and we'll just click on that point over there, and we're going to cutter tip. Of course, we have our technologies, whether I want to work in PEC in this particular case, and I'm just going to go down in my PEC step down every 3 millimeters. We'll accept that, and I'll already do a transform as well, moving my translate in a matrix of twice in the Y direction of 400 millimeters. Okay, we'll accept that. And now let me go back to my operation. And this time we'll run the simulation using Solid Verify. Simulate, Solid Verify. You can see my fixture there as well. And everything is done, including the drilling operation. Obviously, we see we have here a crash because I didn't stick my tool, I don't know. But that's exactly why we have simulation, so you can see exactly what's going on. Obviously, to fix that, all I have to do is have a longer tool or a different type of holder, which can actually go in there to drill out the part. Okay, let's go on to our next part now. And this time I'm going to use a part, again, a tombstone operation. But this time when I use a tombstone operation, we're only going to have one type of part on it. Not two different parts like we had last time, this past one, but only one part. We'll open up the assembly that I have over here. And as you can see, it's all the exact same part placed evenly around the tombstone over here. In this particular case, we have a very simple way of working. All I have to do is create one home position, and that's it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Do SolidCAM, new, milling, accept that. Excuse me. Okay, we have our coordinate system. Do it the exact same way I did last time for my first home position. I'm just going to keep it, though, in the middle this time. And that's the only home position that I really need to create for this particular case. I want my Y going up over there. Let me flip around. Actually, I want my Z going up towards the top over there, so I'll flip it around Y. And now let's flip it around Z to get my Y to the right direction. As you see, now it's in the correct direction. We're all set. My part upper level will be at that surface over there. Part lower level, if I want, I can have it down there or down there, whichever one I feel is correct for what I need. And of course, my clearance level, I'll have that at 250, where my tool start level will be, excuse me, will be at 275. And I'll accept that. Now, as far as home positions, that's all I'm going to create, just one home position. My stock, again, I'll choose the option of 3D model. And again, like the way I usually like working, and specifically in cases like this, I'll have a configuration with my stock in it as well. So I'll just click on my stock over here, as shown over here. I can click on every single one of them, or there's also an option of going into CAD selection and taking it from my CAD tree as well. Let me just continue on exactly the way I have it right now. When I choose my my target, I'll do it that way. Okay, just to show you the difference. We'll click on the stock over here. And one more side over here. And we're all set as far as the stock goes. Okay, and if I click on show, you'll see that this is the actual stock over here. Okay, we'll accept that. Of course, we have our targets. Okay, let me just click on this. And I'm just going to leave it exactly the way it is right now because it's already been chosen on the part. Okay. If I want, I can, however, right-click and unselect all and choose each one again, or go into CAD selection. In my CAD selection, I can drop down my CAD tree as shown over here, go in over here and choose all of these over here. From here down to here, just choose them exactly the way I just did now by shifting, resume, and it's automatically populated inside my box over here, inside my window over there. I'll accept that, and that's how we can also pick those parts, my target over there. Okay, now I'm just going to do some operations over here. And I only, as I mentioned, I only have one Mac home position. Okay. I'll click on, let's do a pocket operation. Actually, you know what? Let's do an operation on the outside over here. The outside over here will be, you know what I'll do? I'll do a toolbox cycle operation. And I'll use the option of Simple Boss. Simple Boss, all I have to do is choose the outside and the inside, and that's it. When I choose the outside and inside, I do not have to worry about if it's open or closed. It'll automatically recognize that for me as well. It'll know that the first one is automatically closed over here. Okay, by the way, there's a much simpler way of choosing my geometry. All I have to do is, in this particular case, I can go to multi-chains, click on that surface, and there's my geometry. All picked. Actually, did the wrong one. Let me actually replace. Let me actually just go out. My fault. Go on the top over here. Pick the wrong side. No problem. Go into my multi-chain. Click on that surface over there. And that's all I need to do. I'll use my tool. The tool I'll use is a 10 millimeter end mill. So I'll create that. And let me put in here the value of 10. Holder. We'll add a holder again from our list at the bottom. I'll choose this one over here this time. And of course we have our levels. Our levels, my upper level. As you know, we can still use the buttons that are there. I'll click over there. That's my upper level. And my depth is up until this surface over here. Of course, we have our technology field. Let's just leave it exactly the way it is. But what I'm going to do before I even go out of the operation, again, I'm going to do transformation. This time, since all my parts are the same all around, I'm just going to do first a translate. And I'm going to do the following. In my X direction, I'm going to have it go twice at 209 millimeters. And in my Y direction, it's going to go 3 times 200 millimeters. This time, I'm going to go into sorting, and I'm going to use one of the green options. Now, what is actually the green options? The green options is what we call optimization. And what this actually does, I'll actually show it to you in a few moments as we work on the part. I'll explain exactly what the optimization allows for. I'm going to use, say, this one over here. I'll accept that. And then I'm going to do fourth axis. Fourth axis, include original, 90 degrees, 3 more times, insert them, and now at the bottom over here we have optimize matrix sorting. I'm not going to check it now, and then I'll check it again in a moment to show you what the difference is. We'll click on OK. We'll accept that. Run my simulation. And first let me run it exactly the way it is right now. You see it's working on each one of those sides. Clearing out those areas over there. And then when it finishes this one, it's going to go over to this next side over here. Now I want you to pay attention of the way it moves over from one side to the next side. Okay, it's finishing this area over here. Now you note, it did an arc movement to the other side. Now when it got to this side, then it went back to the original part over here and started with the exact same way of machining. Starting from the bottom over here, going back to the top. Okay, But note you had this extra move when it came to over here, going back towards this area over here. Let me stop this and go back into my transform. And this time in my fourth axis option, I'm going to use the option of optimize matrix sorting. Since when I did my translate, I used the green optimization, the green one which represents optimization. If we take a look at our simulation this time I'll do it without the solid verify so we can actually see it a lot quicker. You'll see the tool will go down. Does a second part, a third part. It'll do this one over here. Now I want you to pay attention at what happens when it goes from this one to the next one. Let me actually slow it down a bit. This time, and I'll stop it now, you'll note that when it went around to over here, and it didn't reposition itself over this point. Rather, it started exactly where it was, and now it's just going back. That's the optimization option that we have over here. Of course, we can continue our simulation going around the part, but you basically understand exactly more or less what I did over here. Okay, one more option I'd like to show you that we've added in SolidCAM 2014 SP2, and this is actually a very simple but very powerful option that we've added to our regular chaining options that we have inside SolidCAM itself. Let me load a new part over here, and part that looks like this, no problem at all. SolidCAM new, milling, we'll accept it. And I'm going to choose a different machine this time. I'll choose a, what do we have here? Okay, I'll choose a Hermila machine in this particular case. It really doesn't make a difference what I want to show you right now, really. I'll choose my coordinate system on this face over here. Accept that. I'll accept that as well. Let me just create my stock. My stock will be a simple box around the part itself. So I'll just use the automatic option in this particular case. And I'll put it 2 millimeters, sorry, not 22, but 2 millimeters on the X and Y directions. Just the way it is right now. You know what? Just to help myself out a little later on, I'm going to use the option of add CAD box to model. Okay, no problem. We did that. You know what? I also want to create one more home position. And in this particular case, on this part, I wanted just to create a home position for this area over here. So I did create a coordinate system inside of SolidWorks, and I'll use that to create my other coordinate system inside SolidCAM. So I'll do define. I'll add another one, and this time I'll use the option of select coordinate system. As you see, we have the coordinate systems down over here, and I'm going to choose this one over here, which is exactly over here in this particular case. We'll click on OK. If I take a look at the top view, you'll see that this is exactly what I want to mill out in this particular case. Let me have the side view for a moment, and I'll say, okay, my part upper level, let's put it over here. And I'll have my clearance level at 60 millimeters and my tool start level at 100 millimeters. Keep that exactly the way it is. Okay, so we're basically all set to start machining. Now, what I'd like to do in this particular case is create a pocket operation to clear out the outside over here. Now, here the trick is choosing the geometry around the part. So if I go into my 2.5D operation of pocket, okay, my outside is not a problem at all. My outside is just clicking on this line over here from the stock, and I'll do auto constant Z. And we have our first edge over there. Now, my second geometry, I want it around the actual part itself. Now, with the options that we know of up until now, choosing this type of geometry is a little bit tricky. If I were to try to use auto constant Z, let's say I choose this edge over here, this won't be good because it actually closed off this entire surface over here. And that's not what I want. So let me just delete this. And I can start working with auto constant Z if I want, auto up to, and then click on this line over here. Sorry, this line over there, and say, okay, up until this line. Then go back into, say, curve. Click on this line over here, then click on this line, and then click on that line over there. Then go back to auto constant Z up to, and then click on this line over here. You see what I'm actually doing? I'm actually doing a lot of work over here. Then I'm going down here and clicking on that, and so you get the gist. I mean, this is painful. We have a new option. We've now created. Let me actually make this a little wider so you can see this a little better. We've added a new option here called curve propagation. Curve propagation, if I use that, allows you in one picking to choose tangent as well as delta Z. If delta Z is 0, is the way its default is set, it works exactly like your regular Z option. So with using tangent, lines that are tangent to each other will be picked automatically as well. Let's see what happens when I pick my first edge. I'm going to click on this edge over here. You'll note that it's gone around all the way to this edge over here already. I didn't have to do all that picking. It stopped over here because this isn't constant Z, this isn't in the constant Z 0, 0 level, and it's not tangent. All I have to do is just click on the next line, and in this particular case, it closed the entire geometry already. You can see how quickly it was, how easily, how painless it was picking that particular geometry. Now, let me erase it one more time. And let me just do one more little trick over here. I'm going to use the option of curve propagation. This time, in the delta Z area, I've already pre-measured this area from here to here as far as the difference in the Z level goes. And I'm going to put in a plus value of 9 millimeters. Now when I click on this edge over here, you'll note in one click it chose that entire geometry, that entire chain was picked. Simple. Accept that. Tool. Just like any other operation. Let's choose, I'll just leave it just the way it is, just so you understand exactly what's going on over here. Of course, I have my levels, my upper level, my depth over there. Okay, note I'm picking it directly without having to click on the upper level buttons and the pocket depth buttons. And in my technology, well, I forgot to choose my outside geometry as an open chain. So sorry, not new. Let me go back and edit. My edit field, my first geometry over here, my first chain, I want to mark that as an open chain. Mark chain as open. Okay, so that's all set over there. Now when I go to my technology, we have the option of open pocket. I'll use that over there. Approach from the outside if I want. And now when I do that, run my simulation, you'll see it'll work around this geometry exactly the way I wanted it to work. Let's do it in Solid Verify. Work a little quicker over here. And as you can see, it worked exactly around that geometry. Picking that geometry now has become a cinch. Now, I'd like to do one more operation, and then we'll be basically done. In my next operation, I want to work in this area over here. Now, picking this geometry as well, let's see what happens. Pocket. This time, Mach 1 position 2, working over there. And my geometry, this surface is an actual arc, so I can't use constant Z. Again, I'll use the option of curve propagation. Simple click. Since they're all tangent, it picked it all in one shot. Choose my tool, my end mill, levels, my depth will be down to the very bottom over there. Technology, run my simulation, and you can see how easily it was picking that particular geometry over there. This option of being able to choose geometry with curve propagation of tangent will make your lives much easier. Okay, that's basically it. I see there are some questions. As far as when SP is being released, it is being released right now. So just speak to your local reseller, and he will take care of you getting the version if you want it. Now, as far as the post processors goes, for what I've showed you before, there are no changes that I know that need to be in the post processor itself. Okay, I will be going through the text option in a different what is the text option for on? What is the text options for on geometry edit? Let's see. This allows you to actually create. I'll do that very quickly. I have no problem doing that. Let me just start a new operation. Let's say I'll do a I'll even do a profile a pocket operation. Doesn't really make a difference over here for a moment. The idea over here is very simple. I don't have any text over here, but I want to have a geometry with text in it. This allows us to actually write text as our geometry. One moment, I want to have this as Mach 1 position 1. Geometry, add text, and I have a text definition of actually being able to create physically the text itself. Okay, just choose the type of the font that I want. Okay, going over here and write whatever I want to write down over here. Okay, I'll accept that, and I can do a preview. I can actually also pick where I want that text. I want that text, say, just for argument's sake, over there. And if I do a preview, you can actually see the text itself. And then you can work on the text just like anything else. Even though the text is not physically on the part, but we can create text on the part itself. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us in the webinar itself. And I'd like to everyone have a great weekend. And this webinar, as I said, is recorded and will be available on our website. Take care and have a great weekend.